So we continue with heat and energy, and we are now on the fourth part of the chapter because the second and the third part are cancelled from your syllabus for due to the COVID. And so the fourth part is greenhouse effect and global warming. So the next one is greenhouse effect and global warming. So first of all, let us understand what is the greenhouse effect. So we very well know that we have studied in the earlier chapters, that earlier standards in fact, that in case of the greenhouse gases, the greenhouse effect, the greenhouse is a kind of a house which will be there in case of the very cold countries. In cold countries, they will be having a glass house. This is a glass house which is going to be made for the plants, for the nursery. Basically, plants and all will be kept over here. So in this particular greenhouse. Now, why is that so? Is because it is seen that the waves, which are the sun rays, which are the UV rays and all the different kinds of rays of the sun, these rays are of a shorter wavelength, and the shorter wavelength वाले जो रहते हैं ना, उन लोग का penetration power बहुत high है. So because of the high penetration power, they can penetrate through the glass and enter into the glass chamber of this thing. But when they reach the ground surface, they are going to be partially absorbed and partially reflected. Now, in fact, it is almost like that 20% is only absorbed. Rest 80% is going to be reflected back into the atmosphere. Now, when it is getting reflected back, it is getting converted. So, this is of a short wavelength, whereas this one is of a long wavelength. And because the wavelength is long, the penetration power decreases. And that's why these ones cannot cross over here, but they are reflected back. So these ones, if they are trying to go outside, they are just reflected back. So they are reflected back into this thing. Accordingly, the heat which has entered inside the glass house is not able to escape out completely. And that's why the temperature of this glass house will keep on increasing even if the outside temperature is quite low. So this particular phenomena in which the reflected rays are not able to pass through the glass and the incident rays are able to pass through the glass, hence the heating which is taking place over here is called as the greenhouse effect. Now, the best example to understand the greenhouse effect is your car which is being parked in the sun in the hot summer day. So when you are parking your car in your hot summer day, you will find that as soon as you enter into the car, you will find that the temperature of the car or inside the car is much higher than the outside temperature. Why is that so? It's the same reason that कार के विंडशील्ड में से लाइट अंदर एंटर हुआ, बट द कार के अंदर से जो हीट रिफ्लेक्ट हुआ वो बाहर नहीं जा सका. So that's why the temperature inside the car went on increasing, and that's why when you sit inside the car you feel much hot as compared to the outside thing. And that's why normally what your father would be doing would be put down the windows so that the air will be flowing through, and then they will put it up again and then start the AC. They not to start AC directly, because if you start the AC directly, then you are wasting a lot of amount of energy in cooling the system. It is better to put down your windows, so whatever the temperature difference is there is being means erased. So that means outside temperature, inside temperature becomes same, because right now the temperature of the car is much more than the outside temperature. So that is how you are eliminating the condition. So that is an example of the greenhouse effect in your car. Now the same thing also happens on the surface of the earth. So if this is the surface of the earth, the gases which are there over here, these gases, the carbon dioxide and methane and all the gases which are there in the form of the sky and atmosphere, they are going to be acting as a glass from which the short wavelength of the light waves can easily penetrate through. The light can easily penetrate through this particular gases and they reach the earth's surface. But after reaching the earth's surface, when they are getting absorbed, 20% absorbed, 80% is going to be lost. वो जो 80% जो lost जाता है, जो reflect होने के लिए जाता है, that reflected are not able to pass through these gases and they are reflected back to the surface of the earth. So these clouds or this particular gases over here are the one which are acting as the glass, or we can say are acting as a greenhouse. Hence these gases are called as greenhouse gases. Okay, they are the greenhouse gas because they are the one which are acting as a greenhouse for the complete earth, that it is not allowing the heat of the earth to escape out and hence causing a global warming. So the global warming is caused due to the greenhouse effect which is generated by the greenhouse gases present in the atmospheric layer. Okay, so that's what we are going to learn in this particular chapter, and we are also going to see the predictions and the future predictions and all in this particular chapter. So let's start with the understanding of this thing. Greenhouse effect. One sec. Yeah. In 1824, Joseph Fourier discovered the greenhouse effect. It is a process of warming the planet's surface and its lower atmosphere by absorption of infrared radiation of long wavelength emitted out from the surface of the planet. The solar radiations comes from sun have high energy radiations such as gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays and lower energy radiations such as visible light, infrared radiations and radio waves. Our Earth's atmosphere is transparent only for visible light and infrared radiations of short wavelength. Gamma rays, X-rays and ultraviolet are absorbed by the ozone layer surrounding the Earth, while infrared radiations of long wavelength and radio waves are reflected back into the space by the upper most layer of the Earth's atmosphere, that is ionosphere and polar ice caps. So this is the thing, that out of the different spectrum of the light, only two kinds of light, that is the visible light and the infrared. The visible light and the infrared are only the one which of the shorter wavelength which are able to penetrate through the atmosphere. The one which are above this, the X-rays, gamma rays, which are very energetic in nature, they are not able to pass through the atmospheric layer. They are blocked by the ozone layer. The ozone layer does not allow the passage of the UV rays, ultraviolet UVs, ultraviolet rays or X-rays or gamma rays to pass through them. And other thing is that the lower part, that is the radio waves and the microwaves which are present in the light, they are reflected back into the ionosphere and the space by these particular atmospheric region. So it is only these two kinds of the waves, that is the visible light and the infrared, which is able to penetrate through the atmosphere and reach the Earth's surface. The solar radiation which travel through the atmosphere of the Earth are absorbed by the clouds, Earth's surface and seawater, due to which Earth's surface gets heated up. Now the Earth's surface radiates infrared radiations of long wavelength. For these radiations, the Earth's atmosphere is opaque, so they are reflected back by the clouds and are absorbed by the gases present above the Earth's surface. Thus the clouds and the gas prevents the long wavelength infrared radiations from escaping into the space and keeps the Earth's surface warm. Figure 6.13 shows the greenhouse effect. So it is seen that the infrared radiations which are there, these infrared radiations, the visible light is not going to make much difference, but because the main heating effect is done by the infrared radiation. So the light rays which are entering into the Earth's atmosphere, they are going to heat up the air, they will heat up the earth's surface, the sea, ocean, everything. So all those heated up substances, they are going to release their heat, reflect back the heat in the form of infrared radiations. Now these infrared radiations are of long wavelength, and because of the long wavelength, they are not having that much high amount of penetration power, due to which they, for them, the clouds over here become opaque substance. So that means they cannot pass through them, and because they cannot pass through them, that's why they are reflected back over here into the earth's atmosphere, wherein the gases and all are going to get heated up and causes the global warming. So this is how the clouds and the gas prevent the long wavelength infrared from escaping into the gas space and keep the earth's surface warm. Okay, the gases which are the good absorbers of long wavelength infrared radiations are called the greenhouse gases. So these gases, which are the good absorbers of this particular infrared radiations, are called as greenhouse gases. They are carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, and chlorofluorocarbon. So these are the four kinds of the radiations, or say four kinds of gases which are going to be absorbing or getting heated up due to the infrared radiations, that is, or trapping the heat of the infrared radiations, and that is the carbon dioxide, water vapor, the chlorofluorocarbon, and methane. These gases contribute in trapping the heat energy within the atmosphere. The naturally occurring greenhouse gases have an average warming effect of nearly 33 degrees, so that the average temperature of the Earth's surface is about 15.5 degrees Celsius or 60 degrees Fahrenheit. In absence of the greenhouse gases in atmosphere, entire energy radiated from the Earth's surface, an object on it, would escape out into the space, and then the average temperature of the world Earth will be minus 80 degrees Celsius instead of being 15.5 degrees Celsius. On the other hand, if there is an increase in the proportion of the greenhouse gas in the atmosphere, the average temperature of the Earth will rise, and it will be above 15.5 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is seen that you can now also understand that why we had an ice age earlier. See, in the ice age, we can understand that there was no carbon dioxide generated because there were very less amount of animals and plants, and there was no other activity which was producing carbon dioxide in a long base. Methane production was very less. Chlorofluorocarbon जैसा कुछ exist ही नहीं होता था. So automatically the greenhouse present in the air during that period was so less that the average temperature never got heated up, never got increased, and that's the reason it was an ice age. But slowly and steadily, as the revolutions took place, the industrial revolution and green revolution and all those revolutions took place, we started generating more and more carbon dioxide, and due to which the atmospheric temperature over here went on increasing because of the entrapment of the infrared radiations from the Earth's surface, not allowed to go or escape out from into the space, and due to which it is so happening that the average temperature of the Earth's surface has reached 15.5 degrees Celsius, which is an ideal the kind of a situation for the mankind. But due to the global warming, that is due to the continuous increase in the greenhouse gases generated by the people, we are now facing a problem that the temperature is keeping on increasing at a particular rate, and if that keeps on increasing, we are having the what we call it as global warming, because any increase in the average temperature of the Earth's surface is going to have a drastic effect on the living organisms. So that's the main thing, and that's why we see now what is the future projections over here. In the recent decades, it has been observed that the effective temperature of the Earth's surface has risen from 0.74 plus or minus 0.18 degrees Celsius per decade for the last 50 years since 1900. The rate of increase is 2.5 degrees Celsius per decade, nearly 3 times since 1970, and since 2000 it is much more. So it is expected that by the end of the century, the Earth's temperature will rise up to 64 degrees Celsius. The reason for this is the increase in the proportion of the greenhouse gas present in the Earth's atmosphere. Due to that increase, more heat radiation radiated from the Earth's surface are trapped into its atmosphere. So you can see that there has been a continuous increase in the temperature since so many decades. So since 1900, if you see that the increase in temperature was only around 0.74 degrees Celsius, plus or minus 1.8 in per decade. So per decade the increase was so small, but then in the last few decades, that is 1970 से लेकर every decade there is an increase of temperature by 2.5 degrees Celsius. So when every decade it is 2.5, so it is very near future, that is means by the end of the century, not near future but the end of the century, the temperature can rise as much as 64 degrees Celsius. So the average temperature of the earth will become 64 degrees Celsius, which will be almost impossible to survive. It is believed that the human activities are responsible for the increase in the greenhouse, namely the carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere. The main human activities responsible for the increase in the carbon dioxide gases are given below. First, the burning of fuel, deforestation, transportation and industrial production, particularly cement industry. So you can see that it is mainly the fuel burning. We know that when any fuel is burned, carbon dioxide will be generated. Another thing is deforestation. How is deforestation affecting it? Because the forest is the only area that where trees are there, and the trees are the only one which takes carbon dioxide and give you oxygen. So the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere get utilized when there is forest. So, but if your deforestation is taking place in your area, then what happens? The deforestation causes more carbon dioxide to be generated, and this causes more global warming. Secondly, increase in the population. Human being emits nearly 32 gigatons of carbon dioxide each year. Each year, just by respiration, okay, we are producing 32 gigatons of carbon dioxide. Imbalance of carbon dioxide cycle. The oceans does not absorb full amount of carbon dioxide, and the vegetables are not able to change all the carbon dioxide into oxygen, and hence there will be an imbalance of the carbon dioxide cycle, because the carbon dioxide cycle is one where everything produces carbon dioxide, but it is only the photosynthesis which is going to convert the carbon dioxide into oxygen. So the plant content should be much more, but if the carbon dioxide is more and the forest area is cut down, that means the plants are cut down, automatically there is an imbalance in the carbon dioxide cycle, and accordingly there will be problems. The increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide due to the above human activity is responsible for 60% increase in the greenhouse effect. Apart from this, rice cultivation, animal husbandry, natural gas exploration, burning of biomass in clearing of forest, and leakage in natural gas pipelines has doubled the concentration of methane, which is also responsible for the increase in the greenhouse gas. So of course, apart from the carbon dioxide, the next most prominently available greenhouse gas in the atmosphere is methane, and that methane is going to be available to the atmosphere by the leakages in the explorations of the tank. There will be the biomass which is creating methane. So all these are the the gutters and all, they all produce methane and a lot of quantity. So there is nothing but the biogas. So that's why methane is going to be produced by the decaying of the substances, and accordingly we are going to have increase in the greenhouse effect. Thus the increase in the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere enhances the greenhouse effect, and this is called as global warming. So that's why we define global warming as global warming means the increase in the average effective temperature near the Earth's surface due to the increase in the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So increase in the average temperature due to the increase in the amount of greenhouse gases is termed as global warming. Our Earth gets heated up due to absorption of visible and short wavelength infrared radiations received by the sun. The greenhouse gases, namely the carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane and chlorofluorocarbon, traps the infrared radiation of long wavelength emitted from the Earth's surface, and thus keeps the Earth's surface warm at a average temperature of 15.5 degrees Celsius. We already studied that thing, it's just repeat of this thing. It has been observed in recent decades that over a period of 50 years in 20th century, that over a period of 50 years, sorry, in the 20th century, the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere has risen at a rate of 0.74 plus or minus 0.18 degrees per decade. Now the rate of increase of temperature of the Earth's atmosphere is more than, and it's expected that the average temperature will reach 64 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. An increase in the average temperature of the Earth implies an increase in the amount of greenhouse gases present in its atmosphere, so that they could trap more heat radiated from the Earth's surface. It is believed that the human activities such as burning of fuel, fossil fuel, industrial growth, clearing of forests, use of automobile, etc. have played a significant role in the increase in the greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere. So this is exactly the same what we studied earlier, so just repeated the whole thing, so I'm not explaining much about this thing. So we see the causes of global warming. The cause of global warming is the increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases present in the atmosphere of Earth due to human activities. The increase in different greenhouse gases is as follows. Increase in the different greenhouse. So first thing is concentration of carbon dioxide has increased up to 25% due to the industrial growth, combustion of fossil fuel, clearing of forests, etc. The concentration of methane has doubled due to agricultural sources such as rice cultivation, animal husbandry, natural gas exploration, burning of biomass, clearing of forests, leakage in natural gas pipelines. The concentration of fluorocarbon has increased at the rate of 5% per year. Thus, increase in greenhouse gases in atmosphere enhances the greenhouse effect and hence causes global warming. Impact of global life on Earth. So let's now see a new thing, that is the impact of global warming. What happens? क्या फर्क पड़ेगा? Right? What is the effect going to be there? So first is the increase in proportion of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere at the following impact on the life of the Earth. The variable change in the climate in different parts of the world, which has created difficulties and forced the people to animals to migrate from one place to another. So the first thing what is going to happen is the climatic changes. You must have seen yourself over here that even last year, you can see in the month of December it was raining. Okay, Diwali में बारिश हो रही थी, December में बारिश हो रही थी. So what is that? There is the climatic changes. You can see that the winters are very small. कुछ दिन के लिए ठंडी था, बाद में ठंडी था ही नहीं. Summers are very severe. So there has been a drastic change in the climatic conditions, and all this is due to global warming. Second, the change in the blooming season of the different plants. So due to the change in the climatic conditions, the blooming season also changes, because for blooming it requires a particular climatic conditions. If the climatic change takes place, the blooming season also changes place. The change in the regional climate, which has an immediate effect on the simple organisms and plants. So the regional climates are going to change. If the regional climate is going to change, automatically the simple organisms and the plants which are growing in that area is going to be affected, because certain plants are going to grow based on the amount of temperature around it. अगर वो temperature changes अगर हो जाएंगे तो automatically it is not allowing the plants to be brought at that particular point. The change in the climatic changes, which is the change in regional climate, okay. The change in the world's ecology. So yeah, the world ecology is going to change because of this particular change in the different climatic conditions. The world ecology is going to change accordingly. And finally is the increase in the heat stroke death. People are going to die due to heat stroke, which is going to be causing much more death. So because if the temperature is going to increase, definitely the person are going to suffer from heat stroke. So that is the impact of global warming on the life of the earth. Now we see some future predictions. One sec. So the future predictions. With the present rate of increase of the greenhouse effect and global warming, it is predicted that average temperature of Earth's surface will become 64 degrees Celsius by the end of 2100. Although it is not possible to make very accurate predictions on its impact on the future, but still looking at the change in some natural phenomena which we are facing now, following predictions can be made. So first of all, dislocation and appearance of plants and animal species. Yes, because of the change in temperature, there will be a possibility that some animals may not be able to when they migrate to some other place, or else they may even extinct. So the species may extinct due to the global warming. So at the present rate of increase in the greenhouse effect, it is expected that nearly 30% of plants and animal species will vanish by the year 2050. and up to 70% by the end of the year 2100. This will disrupt ecosystem. The animals from the equatorial region will shift to higher latitude in search of ice and cold region. The absorption of the carbon dioxide by ocean will cause acidification, due to which marine species will migrate. Second is warming of the ocean. The temperature of the ocean water will increase, due to which many the species in the ocean will either die or they will disappear, while various other species which prefer warm water will increase tremendously. So those who can be surviving in warm waters, their species will increase. The one which requires cold weather, they will not be able to survive and they will extinct. So that is how the warming of the ocean is going to cause the change in the kind of the organism growth. Third is the melting of the glaciers. Now, of course, due to the global warming, the frozen tundra in Siberia has started melting. Greenland has experienced 32 glacial earthquakes in 1 year. The Arctic snow covered is expected to be ice free by the September 2037. So by September 2037, the Arctic snow is completely going to vanish. The global average sea water level has risen by a rate of 3.1 mm per year. This rate of rise is expected to increase in future. It also expects that the amount of oxygen dissolved in the ocean will decrease, which will have adverse effects on the marine life. So overall, you can see that rise in the water level. So many of the island countries may sink, because 3.1 mm per year, तो automatically in 10 years it will be quite a huge amount. कि बहुत सारे छोटे छोटे like the Maldives and all, which are already in small island forms, they will sink completely. So these are certain kind of things which are alarming. Shift in farming region. In the near future, warming of nearly 3 degrees will result in poor yield in farms in low latitude regions and will increase the rise of malnutrition. The crop yield is expected to increase in middle and high altitude regions. Therefore, farmers will have to shift their farming region from low altitude to low latitude to high latitude. Increase in new diseases and heart-related deaths. So yeah, heat-related deaths, because due of the heat, there will be new kind of diseases and the heat-related deaths taking place. Due to global warming, many new diseases will emerge because bacteria can survive better in increased temperature and they can multiply faster. It will extend the distribution of mosquitoes due to increase in the humidity levels and their frequent growth in warmer atmosphere. This will result in increase in many new diseases. Apart from that, the death rate due to heat stroke will also increase. Change in the regional climate. It is expected that the warming over land will increase it with the maximum at high northern latitudes, while minimum over the southern ocean. The frequency of hot extremes, heat waves and heavy precipitation will also increase. So there will be a continuous regional climatic changes taking place. As I told you about एक जगह पे in Mumbai itself, I told you about the December में बारिश हो रही थी. So that is like regional climate change. Variable changes in the climate. The variable changes of the climate will result in the increase in the number of people suffering from death diseases and increase injuries from floods, storms and droughts. Increase in cost of air conditioning due to warming effect. The cost of air conditioning will increase and it will consume more electric energy. Change in sea level. Due to melting of ice, the area of the sea ice around both the poles is shrinking. It is expected that in the next 50 years, the ice at both the poles will melt completely and therefore the sea level will rise. Building in the roads in the coastal areas will get flooded and they could suffer damage from hurricanes and tropical storms. So yeah, these are the different predictions which are there, which are going to be there for the future predictions of the global warming. So of course, we cannot just keep our hands folded. We can have something to be done. So that's the way to minimize the impact of global warming. So there are certain things we can have it in 3 different ways. One is the technological measures. So by technology we can do certain thing. Other thing is economical measures. and lastly is a policy measure. So to minimize the impact of global warming, following three measures can be taken: technological measures, economical measures, policy measures. These measures are interrelated and must be taken seriously simultaneously. Technology measures. The economic growth and population growth each increases consumption of fuel, and hence both are responsible for the increase of greenhouse gases. We need to check them and use the following three technological measures. First, use of renewable source of energy to generate electricity in place of generating electricity from the fossil fuel based power plants. Change of transportation vehicles, and use of biochar stoves for cooking. So first thing is use of renewable source of energy for generation of electricity in place of electricity from the fossil fuel based power plants. The fossil fuel based power plants are the main source of generation of greenhouse gas. They produce nearly 21.3% of the total greenhouse gases. Therefore, alternate energy sources such as wind energy, solar energy, tidal energy, geothermal energy, etc. must be used to generate electricity in place of fossil fuels based power plants. So, fossil fuel based power plants must be banned. So, yes, if you see a thermal power plant का chimney जो है continuously इतना धुआं देते रहता है, the carbon dioxide produced by them is almost 21% of the total carbon dioxide produced by the earth, on the surface of earth. So next is change of transportation vehicles. Vehicles such as lorry, truck, etc. that are presently in the use of transportation are run by internal combustion engine, and they contribute nearly 14% of total greenhouse gases emission. Such vehicles must be switched to battery operated vehicles, which will reduce carbon dioxide emission drastically. For charging the battery, electricity generated from the renewable source must be used. Further, the vehicle must be used at its full capacity, and the size of the vehicle must be reduced. So what they are trying to do is that instead of using trucks using the CNGs and the diesel and petrol for that, instead of that they should be running on batteries. So if they are battery operated, what you need is only electricity to charge them, and the electricity is generated by the renewable sources, then automatically you are free from the gases. So accordingly you can have the vehicles also made in different sizes, so that you can see that all the vehicles are moving with the full capacity, and not that the complete truck is there and there is only material which is half it filled and the whole truck is empty. Because it is just 3 such trucks going empty means you could have easily made only one truck which could have done the work of the same thing. So that's why you can have different sizes of the trucks, so that you are having the maximum efficiency of those vehicles. Third is the use of the biochar stove for cooking. In developing countries, biomass is mostly used for cooking, which also contributes significantly in the increase in the greenhouse gases. For burning the biomass, new technology must be used to burn it in the absence of air in a specialized construction stove called as biochar stove. So it will release the smokeless combustible gas methane and hydrogen, leaving a charcoal residue which can be buried in the soil. So this is how we are technology ke saath we are changing this thing, that instead of using the biomasses and causing greenhouse effect gases to be generated, what we are doing is we are using biochar stove, and this biochar stove will be so constructed that it releases smokeless kind of a combustion gas, methane, and it is leaving out hydrogen, and this can be leaving behind charcoal, which can be used as a good fuel, which can be used buried in the soil also directly. Of course, you are not going to burn that thing, because if you burn that thing, you are again producing the same thing. So charcoal burn करेंगे तो carbon dioxide मिलेगा, तो वो नहीं करना है. Economic measures. So other thing is that we can control it by economical measures. So first is the industrial growth and the deforestation of population growth has caused the increase in the greenhouse effect. To check them, following two economic measures are needed: reforestation and sustainable use of land, and industries to pay carbon tax. So first one, reforestation and sustainable use of land. In developing countries, the pressure of population and industrial growth has resulted in unsustainable agriculture practice, which are responsible for 90% of deforestation. So because of the industrial development, the land which was supposed to be for agriculture and which was useful for the conversion of the carbon dioxide to oxygen is now converted into an industrial zone. Industrial zone again, more and more gases are being generated. So these countries must be asked to reforest and maintain forest habitat. So what they think is that in case they really want to have a industry in that area, they should reforest. That means that particular forest should be placed somewhere else, so that forestation is there, and that's why they are not losing on the plant over there. So their loss will be verified by satellite imaging before compensating them by the international agency. So it is seen that whatever, if the industry has been developed, तो उसके कारण जो भी गैस जो जनरेट होने हुआ है, तो that particular loss has been सैटेलाइट से उसका इमेजिंग करेंगे और सैटेलाइट से उसका लॉस फाइंड करेंगे कि हाँ वेदर इट इज कोपिंग अप विद द ओरिजिनल कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एमिशन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए जो फॉरेस्ट था वो हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है. दैट काइंड ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी कैन बी यूज्ड फॉर reforestation and sustainable use of land. Industries to pay carbon tax. Since industry emit carbon dioxide to a good extent, so to check them, they must be asked to pay carbon tax. So इंडस्ट्री को बोला है ओके राइट ना, क्या है इंडस्ट्री को जो चाहिए वो एमिट कर रहा है, ऊपर धुआं डाल रहा है, चिमनी के ऊपर छोड़ रहा है. इफ दे टेल यू दैट इफ दिस चिमनीज are going to be charged for the amount of carbon which they are releasing, what will happen? Immediately they will put some filter or something in between so that the emission which is given out will be reduced. But अभी क्या है, कुछ नहीं है तो छोड़ दो आराम से, right? So this is basically what is happening, that this tax can be calculated on the basis of carbon emission from the industry, number of employee hours and turnover of the industry. This will encourage the industry to use energy efficient offices and to avoid the traveling of its employees by using teletransferencing. So they are trying to reduce the people from traveling from one place to another. So work from home, what we are doing right now is the thing what they are expecting, or they are making it possible. You can say it is a way of reducing the global warming. So that's why you must have seen that even during right now in the COVID times, the sky is very clear, the sky is very clean, you can see a distant vision. हम लोग को दिखता है, क्यों? Because the pollution is less, the number of vehicles, the number of industries which are running right now is less. That's why the pollution has been decreased drastically, and that is also one of the examples over here. Policy measures. To check global warming, government must take the following two policy measures: educating children to live sustainable lifestyle and controlling population through family planning, welfare reforms and empowerment of women. So educating children to live sustainable lifestyle. We need to educate children that genuine happiness lies in the less competitive and more cooperative society. Consuming more and buying more must not be the aim of the life. For a sustainable life, we must make full use of what we have. The materialistic gain gives a temporary pleasure. So we need to understand that we should be educate you all that sustainable life is more important, and temporary whatever the materialistic thing what you're having will give you only temporary pleasure. Like suppose you buy an iPhone today, you will be having the pleasure of having the iPhone for maximum a month or so. उसके बाद क्या हो गया, हाँ फोन है, then automatically the way you are going to behave with that phone is going to different. उसको बाद में हम लोग थोड़ा इधर गिर गया तो वो टेंशन नहीं लेते हैं. Why? Because वो एक महीना पुराना हो गया. So what is the materialistically, if you see that what was the feeling of getting an iPhone for the first time was okay, बहुत बड़ा feeling था, but for how many days? Okay, so it is not going to last for a long period of time. But if you have something, whereas if you are able to aim for a life which is going to be more sustainable, that means it is when we are making the full use of whatever you are having. Okay, we are happy with what you are having and making the full use of what you are having, then it is much more beneficial for you also and beneficial for the country also, or the globe itself, the earth itself. Controlling population through family planning, welfare reforms and empowerment of women. The world population expected to increase by from 7.1 billion in the year 2012 to 9.15 billion in the year 2050, with most of the growth taking place in the developing countries. This needs to be controlled. Population growth can be controlled through various measures such as free and easy access to family planning, welfare provisions to encourage smaller families, and empowerment of the women through education and freedom to choose their future career, because the educated women are most conscious about family planning due to their career commitments. So you can see that if you are controlling the population, automatically you are controlling lots of factors. More the population, more the things required, more the resources required, more the resources used. So if the population is controlled, automatically you are controlling a lot of things over here. So the first of all, you can control the population by family planning. So you can provision of the easy accessibility to family planning should be there. The government can provide with that. Secondly is they can provide some kind of incentive to smaller families. Okay, if you are having a family of only 3 or 4, then you can get some incentive from the government. So that incentives will help them to provide that. Plus, you can educate the female. The female, if she is getting educated, automatically she will become career oriented, and when she is career oriented, she will be much more interested in her career rather than just being at home and producing kids. So that's the thing that this is how the education would change the population criteria. Recently, in the 21st century, 2015, United Nations Climate Change in Conference, CUPC21 and CMP11, held in Paris and from November 30 to December 12, 2015, each nation expressed a deep concern on the present rate of increase of the greenhouse gases and is committed to limit the global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrial level of the year 2100, for which the global goal of zero carbon emission is to be achieved between 2030 to 2015. So there has been quite of things like conferences and all being wherein globally all the countries have come together and have made it a target that by 2030 they want that the temperature, the emission of the greenhouse gases should be reduced to just the global warming to be reduced to 2 degrees Celsius, and the zero carbon emission by 2030. Okay, to 2030 2050 mein there should be zero carbon emission. So we are trying to make the use of the renewable sources, okay, and we are trying to use wind energy and wind energy and solar energy now for the purpose of electricity. So this is how the global warming can be minimized, or the impact of the global warming can be minimized. So this is about the chapter heat and energy. So that's the end of the chapter, heat and energy. Thank you.